The steering column one piece like most of the old cars did. I think mostly it was because Fords are so special. We cannot use this because we're...
Excuse me.
That happens.
Oh man, I'm allergic to Sam.
Welcome to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. On this episode of Sam's Garage, Kevin and Travis showcase the Axi Shift Pro from Lokar Performance. Sam and Doug install the radiator in the 57 Thunderbird. Action Off-Road swings by the garage to upgrade the safety equipment in the Can-Am side-by-side. And then the team works on installing a new sound system. Kevin from Lokar Performance helps Sam install a new shifter in the 69 Camaro. The Axi Shift Pro allows the shifter to be angled in any position to make those shifts as comfortable as possible. Lokar even offers replacement shift boots to match your interior.
Last week, Kevin, Travis, and I installed a 14-inch LS Classic kit on our Camaro, really Skip's Camaro. This week, we're going to put the shifter in a better position by installing an Axi Shift.
Yeah, Travis is kind of a diva, so we got to get that tilt just right. We got to get the position where he wants it, make sure it drives good. In this application, we're going to use the Axi Shift Pro. You're familiar with our regular Axi Shift that just bolts to the stub that's on the TKX.
Yep.
This one actually replaces the whole shifter mechanism inside the housing. That allows you to go on center and still achieve all these different rotations, but it can allow you to go way off center as well. So it's kind of a more complicated version of the other one for something just like this.
But it's also a more compact design, so it fits in the console area better.
Exactly. So this one is less compact in one configuration, more compact in the other. A little more trouble to install, but still easy as can be.
Let's get it installed.
What I wanted to show you is the adjustability in the Pro. So with our standard, we bolt onto this and you get one offset left or one offset right, and then you've got all the flexibility of twisting and turning and tilting.
Right.
With this guy, we can go on center, which you can't do with our standard, but we can also offset like that.
That's nice.
And then we can rotate, because we've got the top of this is splined, we can actually rotate our base 360 degrees. So wherever you need this thing offset, whether it's at a 45, 52, 90, whatever it is.
It gives you a lot of adjustability.
Yeah, you can just put it in that location, bolt her down, put her in the car. And because this has a 360 adjustment on the top as well, we can just reorient this once we loosen it up.
This is perfect for you import guys who are drifting, who are doing swaps every day. A lot of you right-hand drive guys, you can put that stick exactly where you want it to make it comfortable for when you're going through the track. The good thing is that you guys give so many availability with the shifters that they can actually do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well worth it.
So let's bolt it up.
Let's do it. When you guys are reinstalling the shifter, make sure to put a little sill glide on the ball that goes into the receiver inside the transmission. The original one's gonna have lube, the new one's not, so make sure you do that. And then if you mess up the gasket when you remove the shifter, it's okay, just use some RTV sealant back and you'll be fine.
So this is the lever we had in here.
Right.
And like I was telling you before, we've got an assortment of types of levers and different lengths. So because the Axi Shift raised our lever, but Travis was happy with the height of it, we're going to go with the 8-inch instead of the 10-inch, and you can see it basically drops us to around the same position we were.
I like the center of that stick you have in your right hand. That's a nice little accent. It
Yeah.
matches the interior of this car really well.
Yeah, it does. And when we get back, we'll find a shorter one to put in.
Absolutely.
But this is what I brought with me, so that's what we'll play with.
Now, once that's installed, the factory bezel and boot will go over it. Aftermarket boots, be pretty universal, so in case you guys have to use something like this, you can, and it'll finish off the installation. That is such a huge improvement from where it was before.
Yeah, I mean, it's subtle, but you know, if you look at all the factory ones, they didn't waste their time bending them sideways for no
Yeah,
reason.
absolutely. That looks nice. I definitely need to get one of these in the Supra because it is right-hand drive and naturally the transmissions tilt to the driver's side.
That's right.
So we got to get one in there and move the stick over to the passenger side in that case.
Well, I know where you can get one.
I think I do too. That's very nice, Kevin. Awesome. That's probably one of the best things you've come up with over the years.
Well, thank you.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam and Doug work on installing the radiator in the 57 Thunderbird project. They choose to go with a universal radiator from Summit Racing, which worked perfectly in their application.
We had to go to Summit Racing. We got one of their aluminum universal radiators along with their condenser for the vintage air unit. Got everything as far as the condenser installed. Next, we're going to install the radiator, and then we're going to attack the steering column. We also got from Summit Racing along with the Lokar steering wheel from Kevin at Lokar.
You guys, when you were doing this, a lot of times, custom parts may not fit exactly the way you think they're going to fit. And so that's what we found out, because there's a lot of little changes that we have with that rack and pinion system that we put in. We've also had to put a remote steering pump onto an electric pump. So there's a lot of little changes that you have inside of these builds. And so we got real fortunate with that radiator.
The biggest thing is that no matter what obstacle you come across, you power through it, get it done, knock it out.
This is the radiator that we got from Summit, and it was one of their standard off the shelf, which was absolutely great. So one of the things that we needed to do was to modify the inlet and the outlet. So we had to modify it. So we took a standard piece, went ahead and cut the end off, and then this is where the good fabricator comes in. Then they welded it in to make everything fit in this radiator.
Yeah, because the lower neck was just a little bit bigger by one size. That thermostat housing is off of an LS engine, nice thick aluminum, something that Forrest did a very good job of welding onto this radiator. Now, Cold Case with their radiator package gave us a electric fan with the shroud. Now the shroud doesn't fit, but the fan is very nice. With a lot of CFM, I can easily take it off, and it's giving us about 80% coverage on the radiator. This should be enough cooling. If it's not, for some reason we see our temperatures going high, we can put a pusher fan in front of the condenser to help this fan. So we're gonna go back with the Summit Racing stainless steel column. This is a universal piece, 34 inches long, stainless steel, raw finish. It's got a mount that goes on the firewall that comes with a coupler that can be turned 360 degrees. That way you can get flush no matter the angle of the column. And then we came up with some shafts. These pieces I got from Scott's Hot Rods and Classic Cars. Cameron there does such a great job. Very good with replying to emails and getting the parts you need and getting them quick. So first we're gonna put this in, then this is gonna go inside the shaft. So I'm gonna put this on the yoke, I'm gonna hold this in place, and you're gonna put the column in and we're gonna meet each other like this, slide it in, bolt it up. You can set the depth of the column. It is tilt, but it's not telescoping. So I'm making sure that Doug is sitting on his pad, and in that way, once he's good, we're gonna tighten the column lock, and then we'll go down and put our firewall flange in place. So what we have here is an electric over hydraulic power steering pump from a 2007 or later Volvo. The reason why we went that way is because the vintage air unit we were using, the front drive accessory, the power steering pump lives where you see the shaft coming in from the column to the yoke itself. So we couldn't put the power steering pump or anything there. We got ourselves a Volvo power steering pump, plumbed it in place, and now everything works. And that's what I mean by powering through any obstacle that comes up. Man, Summit Racing really came through for us this time. The radiator fit perfect. The Cold Case radiator fan fits on the radiator perfect. The steering column, nice piece, good price. And Doug's new seat.
You know, Sam, I love this new seat. It's a real upgrade from the last one. It's really comfortable. Gives me the real feel of what this is going to be like, you know. Everything here has got wonderful bling, and you know how much I love bling.
Absolutely, I can tell you love it. beauty is that when you do prevent rust, you save so much money down the road because of maintenance from your mechanic. If we go into a job and we've got a couple hours labor in the book and you got a bolt that's rusty, you got to go in and drill something, you're going to be paying extra hours for that work. When you do an undercoating protection, you alleviate that problem. Everything is going to come off nice and like it's new. No rust, no issues.
Mechanics actually love offering the service because they're doing something beneficial for the customer, but by extending the life of that vehicle for the customer, they extend the service life for them.
For themselves.
And the residual value on a trade-in.
And anytime you save your customer money, you're always going to be the hero. Now tell us about this black undercoating that you have.
I get into this business trying to save my own vehicle. And we do spray our own product, and we do about 3,000 vehicles a year. So we listen to the customer. And a lot of guys, including myself, said, it looks nice. I know you're protecting me, but it's shiny rust. Could we make it look better while we're protecting it and not put something counterproductive like paint? So what we did was we came out with a carbon tint to put in the oil. So now you are protecting your vehicle and you're improving the appearance of the surface at the same time.
And everything's uniform. It really does do a better job of making it look really good.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Action Off-Road stops by Sam's Garage, this time to talk about safety when out blazing the trails in the side-by-side. A 4-point harness will help keep the driver and passengers secured inside the vehicle in case of a rollover. They'll also install a fire extinguisher in the event of a fire.
All right, so we are continuing on with our safety scheme on our side-by-side. And we've gone to actionoffroad.com. We got ourselves a 4-point harness because the harnesses in there are just like a car harness and it's good for on-road. But from what I've seen these guys do, they're mostly upside down or sideways. So you really need to be planted in that seat.
Oh yeah, safety first always. Fire extinguisher too to put any kind of flames out. These things run pretty hot. Sometimes you have some accidents. Always good to have one on hand. And this thing, I wouldn't ride without it. All right, so the fire extinguisher here, first thing you want to do is you want to mount it somewhere you can easily get to it. You don't want to have to scramble in an emergency. You don't know where it's at and have easy access. This guy here is super easy to take off. You got 2 straps, pull them out. There you go. Then all you got to do is pull the pin out here, press the lever, and you're good to go. And make sure you point it at the fire. The stock seat belts, they do have a little issue. If they get a lot of mud in them, sometimes that switch in there messes up and it throws the car into limp mode. So if you ever experience that kind of issue, you probably want to go ahead and delete that switch just in case. Another tech tip here, when you're taking the stock seat belt out, it comes with a seat belt safety switch and you have to jump that out to put a 4-point harness in it. Otherwise, it'll go into limp mode and you can't go anywhere very fast. All right, guys, so we're gonna talk a little bit about safety. First thing we're gonna go over is how to properly set a 4-point harness. Obviously, keep everything clipped in. You wanna make sure that there's not a whole lot of play here. If there's a lot of play, you can slide out, arm come off or whatever, and also you can slide forward, slide up in the seat, have your helmet and head hit the roof. We also like to use helmets when we ride these things. The problem is a lot of people don't do it, and they get in a wreck, and next thing you know, their head hits the roll cage or kind of goes out the window a little bit when they roll, and next thing you know, they're in the ER or whatever with head injuries. Make sure you always wear protection. It's always a great idea. And one more safety tip as well. When you get in a wreck, driver or passenger, if the car is rolling, you want to let go of the steering wheel and grab a hold of your harness and kind of hold on tight. Do not put your hands out the windows like a lot of people do to try to stop the car from rolling. You're either going to break your arm or lose it, one of the two. And if you have your hands in the wheel, you're flipping, the tires can hit a tree and snap the wheel around really quick and break your thumb too. So be extra careful about that. Always grab your harness.
Well, everything you guys saw today is very important because safety first so that you guys actually can have fun. Now, James made a very good point about the steering wheel. When you're rolling around, keep your hands on your harness because if you hold on to the steering wheel, something like that can happen.
That looks rough. So how did you fare?
Not bad. My thumbs and wrists did not break, but I did crack a sternum and 2 ribs. But it's very important to not hold on to the steering wheel because you could snap a thumb or a wrist. Wow. And that fire extinguisher is going to come in really handy, Santo, when we go out to the trail, just in case there's an issue.
Absolutely. Always want to have safety first.
Yep. So next we're going to hit the trails, but before we do, we have a lot more to install.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. The Action Off-Road boys are back to help upgrade the sound system in the Can-Am side-by-side. With all of these upgrades, it's going to be hard to miss this side-by-side coming down the trails.
This week we're going to add some fun stuff to our side-by-side in the way of sound. Now it's pretty cool because Kicker, Rockford Fosgate, all the old school guys have gotten really big into the side-by-side game, right?
Yes, they make a lot of plug-and-play kits and bolt-on accessories and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, and some like the Rockford had the whole dash that would be replaced with the speakers incorporated in it.
Yes. Yep.
That's a lot of cool stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I grew up with Kicker and Rockford, so I know it's going to sound good and install good because they're such professionals.
Yep, and we're going to wake the neighbors up too.
Yes, we are. So what do you guys got planned?
First, we're going to do a tear down, get everything pulled out, prepped, ready to go back in, and then we're going to do the full install, get it all ready to go.
There you go. And see, we had our passenger seat already out while doing the wiring, and we are going to install the passenger side harness when everything is done with the stereo. That way the passenger seat stays out of our way.
All right guys, so we're gonna give you a little bit of details about this head unit. One thing, it comes pre-wired for all kinds of goodies. We've got pre-wires for the sub, pre-wired for the side panel kickers. So it also comes pre-wired for a backup camera, which we're going to install later. This particular system comes with 2 amps. We got a dual and a mono, one obviously for the subwoofers, one for the side panel kickers, and that's about it.
A lot of the side-by-sides will actually have a thin floor. In this case, ours is plastic. So Kicker from the factory is recommending that you actually put holes to release some of that pressure from the speaker. In our case, the boom mat's going to take care of it, and that speaker is going to be away from the elements.
We placed some boom mat down below on the skid plate here where the subwoofer fires down, because a lot of times when you play something with a lot of bass, it's going to make a lot of vibrating sounds and stuff on that. So we put that boom mat to kind of dampen that to where it sounds really good and clear and doesn't have a lot of rattle to it. Yeah, I used the back of a nut driver to spread that out really good and make it adhere to the skid plate really well. They face it down, one, just because it's, you know, the way the speaker is shaped. If it was faced up, the dish would hold a lot of mud and water, so you got it facing down. That way the mud, water, nothing's gonna sit in that sub. So earlier we were drilling some holes here to mount our speakers in. Notice that all this is plastic. Well, what you want to pay attention to is up above this plastic where you're going to be drilling these holes, the gas tank is here. It's very easily mistaken to drill in the wrong spot. So you just want to make sure before you drill, you're drilling into the right area.
So the hardware you just saw me install, you want to make sure not to hog down on it. There is thread lock on it to keep it in place, but it goes into nutserts that lives in plastic. So you don't want to spin that and ruin your investment. All right, we got our speakers installed. We have some of the wiring done and the subwoofers in. We're going to go ahead with our head unit, our amps, and finish up the wiring.
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Sam's Garage. We saw the Lokar team install a new shifter in the 69 Camaro. The Thunderbird's cooling system is now completed. Action Off-Road upgraded the safety equipment and sound system in the Can-Am side-by-side.